Hi, this is Jaya. In this video, we shall see the summary of Oranges Are Not the Only Fruit by Jeanette Winterson. The theme of this is the struggle for self-discovery and identity in the face of rigid religious and societal constraints, particularly for a young lesbian navigating through her strict Pentecostal upbringing. The main characters in this book are Janet, who is the protagonist, mother, that is Janet's mother, her name is not given in the book, Melon, who is Janet's friend, and other Janet's acquaintances are Ellis Norris, Miss Dewsbury, Katie, Ida, Mrs. Wool, and Mrs. Arkwright. Now, Janet is actually adopted by one family, and in that family, the father is a very hardworking person, so most of the time he will not be at home. And the mother is an extremely religious person. She has strong faith in God, and when generally Janet notices that when she prays to God, she prays for the downfall of her enemies. At the same time, she contributes a lot for all the church work. And from the early age itself, Janet had a feeling that she did not like men, and she did not want even to marry. And she found friendship with two women who lived together, and they run a local paper store. But her mother said, no, you should not see them. And the reason for saying that you should not see them is she said that they have unnatural passions which Janet did not understand in that age. And on Sundays, Janet and her mother will go for a walk around the town. And at that time, Janet's mother will tell her that she adopted Janet only because she wanted to devote her to God and dedicate her life in His service. That night at church, Pastor Finch comes and asks Janet her age, and after that, he tells about the holy qualities of number 7, and also he tells about the evil of number 2, and suggests that Janet herself can harbor sin. Soon, Janet and her mother leave there and they come home. And at that day, her father goes early to the bed, but her mother stays back because she wants to read the Bible. And Janet also, who doesn't show much keen interest in going to school, stays up with her mother. But somehow from her school an envelope comes, and it mentions that she has to attend school. And though her mother is not willing, she sends Janet to school. And when Janet is 7 years, she starts losing her hearing power. But no one notices that, and when she is quiet also, they think that is a sign of being in rapture of the Lord. But one day, Mrs. Dewsbury, who sees Janet and talks to her, but that time Janet explains through scraps of paper that she is not able to hear. Immediately, Mrs. Dewsbury takes her to the hospital, and she finds out that she has to be diagnosed by the doctor. And so she comes to Janet and tells that a specialist must diagnose her. And when they go to the specialist, the doctor confirms that she has lost her hearing power, and therefore she has to go for a surgery. And Janet's mother has to agree because now everything has become evident. But at the same time, after admitting her in the hospital, her mother rarely goes and visits her in the hospital because most of the time she is doing some other work for the church. And at that time, another woman called Elsie comes and keeps Janet company, and at this time she even acts as a mentor. Now, Janet, after coming back, she finds it very difficult to fit with the school because most of the time she is only occupied with religion, and she finds it difficult also to make friends and earn her teacher's respect. And one day, what happens is, in order to demonstrate to another girl about the violence of hell, she chokes her, and all her projects, schoolwork projects, all will be based on religious themes. She was expecting to win an award, but none of the teachers gave her any award. And then only Elsie comes and makes her to understand that these projects should not only be based on religion, it should show her craftsmanship, her creatorship, and all that. And slowly she matures, and as she grows up, Janet starts struggling because all the teachings of the church and the world she experienced at school and outside, and she finds herself disagreeing with everything, and particularly with the pastor for the first time over the topic of perfection. And this comes out because there is a fairy tale which is being told where a prince comes in search for a perfect wife, and finally finds that no one in the world is perfect, and with this he begins a new quest to make perfection. And Janet becomes more and more preoccupied with men and marriage as she hears all the women around her complaining about their husbands being unfaithful to them. And she also has nightmares where she marries a horrific man and finds herself not believing women when they say that every girl finds a man. Then on a trip when she goes to town, her coat gets ripped by getting onto a hook at a butcher shop. So she and her mother go to find a replacement. And when they are in the fish stall, Janet meets Melon. Melanie she sees and immediately she is attracted towards her. And within a few weeks, Janet and Melon they become good friends. And Janet invites her to the church, and Melon gets converted. And Janet becomes her counselor, and they spend a lot of time together. And Janet feels that she has some new feelings towards Melon, and she tries to discuss that with her mother. And she wants to spend more nights with Melon, and well, they spend their time together. They consider the feelings for each other, but they decide that it cannot be unnatural passions that the pastor has always condemned. And whenever Melanie comes and stays at Janet's home, her mother keeps on spying on them. And one morning, when Melanie and Janet, when they come late to church, her mother shouts at them, accusing them of having unnatural passions. Melanie immediately repents, but Janet refuses. And she leaves the church and she goes to Mrs. Dewsbury, and she asks her advice on what to do next. That time only Mrs. Dewberry reveals that she is also a lesbian, and both of them make love. And the next day, Janet is prayed over and she is found about what she is doing, and her mother sends her in isolation and does not give her food. At that time, she meets an orange demon who tells her that she must choose to live authentically or she must only lie throughout her life. And she repents to stop the praying and isolation but refuses to feel any shame because she feels that is natural for her. And she goes and visits Melon one last time, and life soon returns to normal. And she sees another girl named Katie at church, and they start flirting together. And as the Christmas season arrives, Janet avoids her mother because she does not want to go for the prayers. And Melon returns to the town from university for the holidays, but Janet does not go and meet her because she and Katie now start a relationship. And Melon again she returns in Easter, and this time she announces that she is engaged to a military man. After Janet and Katie are discovered together at church-affiliated boarding house, Janet's mother throws Janet out of the house. And the church once again tries to make her to repent, but this time Janet refuses and she leaves the church. And during this trying time, Janet meets with Elsie, who tells her that she always knew that Janet had these feelings towards women, and she tells her that she will not allow this to happen to her if she had not been in the hospital for so long. And Janet leaves her mother's house and plans for the future. And in between, what happens is between Janet's departure and burgeoning, she is interspersed with the story of Winnet, a girl who is tricked into become a sorcerer's apprentice, and there she learns his power. But when she begins a relationship with a boy, the sorcerer kicks her out of his kingdom, and she finds a new home in the village. Soon, though, she wants to go to the city and sets sail for a new future. Now, Janet has two new jobs. One is driving an ice cream truck and working for an undertaker and his partner, who is a wreath maker. Now, when Elsie dies and the church hires the undertaker, Janet has to go and serve the food at the services. Now, church is enraged when she comes there, and so Janet storms out after her mother, and her mother loudly denounces her and says that she is not at all her daughter. Years later, Janet returns to her hometown from the city. Now her mother allows her to stay in the house, and their relationship seems to be somewhat repaired. But at the same time, Janet notices that her mother will not even look into her eyes. And during this trip home, Janet thinks with pain on coming to home, and she remembers her old life, and she also remembers meeting Melanie as an adult, and now Melanie has a child, and what shocks her is Melanie denies that she ever had a relationship, a real relationship, and Janet stays at home for the Christmas holiday but rarely sees her parents as they are involved in the church to which she no longer belongs. And as the trip ends, she wonders how she cannot join a real family but also cannot completely separate herself from her mother who keeps pulling her back home, and the story ends here. If you have anything more to add on to what I've said, please write it in the comment box, like the video, share it with your friends, and if you have not subscribed my channel, please subscribe and support, and don't forget to press the notification button so that you will receive all my videos as soon as I post it. Thank you.